All right, let's talk about feeling our best without the hassle. You know those wellness trends that sound great but are impossible to stick with? Like taking apple cider vinegar shots. Yeah, no thanks. That's why I love Goli Nutrition. They make wellness simple, delicious, and effective with their chewable gummies packed with powerful ingredients. Apple cider vinegar has been used for centuries as a traditional remedy for digestion and gut health. And Goli's apple cider vinegar gummies make it easy to add to your routine. And when life gets stressful, the ashwagandha gummies help me stay cool, calm, and collected. No wonder they're Goli's #1 bestseller. Plus, all Goli gummies are vegan, gluten-free, and made with high-quality ingredients you can trust. Join millions of happy customers and see why Goli is the #1 most sold item in U.S. retail across all vitamins, minerals, and supplements. Goli is changing the wellness game. Head to Goli.com now and get America's #1 ashwagandha and apple cider vinegar gummies at an exclusive 42% off. Give them a try risk-free, backed by our money-back guarantee. Don't wait. Visit Goli.com today.
Live on DAZN Worldwide, May 2nd and 3rd, Garcia versus Romero and Canelo versus Skull. Friday from 6 p.m. Eastern, Garcia returns in a history-making Times Square takeover. 24 hours later, Saturday from 7 p.m. Eastern, King Canelo faces undefeated Skull for the undisputed crown. May 2nd and 3rd, a knockout weekend of boxing. Pick one or go all in for only $90, exclusively on DAZN. Buy now at DAZN.com/boxing.
What's standing between you and your first sale on Shopify? Time, expertise, resources? What if you could multiply all three? Product descriptions? Done. Store insights? Delivered. 2 a.m. customer questions? Handled instantly. Entrepreneurs on Shopify are reaching their first sale faster with AI that works with you. Go to shopify.com/first sale to see how entrepreneurs use AI to grow their businesses faster. That's shopify.com/first sale.
You got problems that you ought to be concerned with. Moolah! You don't know how you're supposed to earn it, or what to do with it, or how to keep it. You're a freak with a dark, shameful secret. But you're not the only one. Get your hidden financial fears with a blast of sun. Now your healing has begun. It's Bad with Money with Gabe S. Done.
Hello and welcome to Bad with Money, a show about finances and feelings where we don't talk down to you. I'm your host, Gabe S. Dunn. And today I want to read you something that I wrote for my Substack, which is called 1,000 Natural Shocks. It's about being burnt out by capitalism. It's about our current moment. And it is about my personal connection to the everyday stresses of life in this hellscape that we're in. I wrote this essay that is up there for free. It's one of my free essays. So I feel like I can read it to you guys here, and hopefully this will entice you to sign up for the Substack, whether free or paid. Free gets you 2 essays a month, and paid gets you 4. And hopefully this gives you an idea of what I'm going to be writing there. I'm really, really, really proud of this one. Really proud of it. I'll read it to you here. And if you are interested, you can join 1000naturalshocks.substack.com. The teacher who made me who I am donates to candidates that hate me. This woman encouraged me to be a writer. Now she votes to ban books. Most of us who pursue this career can pinpoint the one special adult who first told us that we should be a writer. For me, that person was a teacher named Mrs. P, an alias. At Nova Blanche Foreman Elementary, 1st and 2nd grade were combined, so I had Mrs. P for 2 years in a row. I could draw you the layout of her classroom from memory. I can still see her soft hands as she went over my homework. I cried whenever I got into trouble, not because of the punishment itself, but because I made myself sick at the thought that I disappointed her. I worship Mrs. P so much that my mom said when she came over for dinner one night, I was mesmerized by watching her eat. At that age, our teachers are our gods. Mrs. P was one of the first people to take a look at my writing and say, "This is the path you're meant to be on." She submitted a short story I wrote for her class to the Broward County Fair, where it won a blue ribbon. I've used her name for characters in countless scripts because I've always felt an obligation to pay her back somehow for everything she did for me. A few years ago, I asked my mom how Mrs. P was doing. Though I hadn't kept in touch with her, my mom was still friends with Mrs. P on Facebook. She actually still follows a few of my old teachers, like musical theater loving Mrs. Cole from the 3rd grade and Judaic studies teacher / hot softball coach Mr. Reinstein, now a city council member, and don't worry, still hot. So when I casually asked about Mrs. P, I was not expecting anything groundbreaking. My mom sighed. She's gone full MAGA, she said. I was stunned. Sure, this was a mistake. I Googled Mrs. P's full name and found her very Republican donation record on the transparency website opensecrets.org. Since 2021, she's given money consistently to Florida Governor Ron DeSantis and to Arkansas Governor Sarah Huckabee Sanders. I wondered if she knew, through my mom's page, that I was gay.
All right, let's talk about feeling our best without the hassle. You know those wellness trends that sound great but are impossible to stick with? Like taking apple cider vinegar shots. Yeah, no thanks. That's why I love Goli Nutrition. They make wellness simple, delicious, and effective with their chewable gummies packed with powerful ingredients. Apple cider vinegar has been used for centuries as a traditional remedy for digestion and gut health. And Goli's apple cider vinegar gummies make it easy to add to your routine. And when life gets stressful, the ashwagandha gummies help me stay cool, calm, and collected. No wonder they're Goli's #1 bestseller. Plus, all Goli gummies are vegan, gluten-free, and made with high-quality ingredients you can trust. Join millions of happy customers and see why Goli is the #1 most sold item in U.S. retail across all vitamins, minerals, and supplements. Goli is changing the wellness game. Head to Goli.com now and get America's #1 ashwagandha and apple cider vinegar gummies at an exclusive 42% off. Give them a try risk-free, backed by our money-back guarantee. Don't wait. Visit Goli.com today.
Live on DAZN Worldwide, May 2nd and 3rd, Garcia versus Romero and Canelo versus Skull. Friday from 6 p.m. Eastern, Garcia returns in a history-making Times Square takeover. 24 hours later, Saturday from 7 p.m. Eastern, King Canelo faces undefeated Skull for the undisputed crown. May 2nd and 3rd, a knockout weekend of boxing. Pick one or go all in for only $90, exclusively on DAZN. Buy now at DAZN.com/boxing.
When my mom called me to check in last Thursday, I mentioned I was thinking about writing an essay about Mrs. P. I wanted to know what exactly she had seen on my old teacher's Facebook. My mom recalled that in 2016, she noticed that Mrs. P's posts were increasingly pro-Trump. It wasn't casual republicanism. Mrs. P said Trump was just what this country needed. He was a king, a savior, and a monarch sent from the heavens. My dad reminded me that Mrs. P had always been very Christian, so he didn't find her Trump turn all that surprising. I said I didn't think that her religion necessarily explained her trajectory. Many Christians became never Trumpers. Evangelical beliefs didn't mean she had to be spouting MAGA on social media. In 2017, after Trump had been in office for a year or so, my first novel was published. Unbeknownst to me, my mom sent a copy to Mrs. P. It was the book my friend Allison Raskin and I had written together called I Hate Everyone But You. In it, the character based on me is extremely bisexual, and her love interest is a trans man. I also hadn't known that soon after she sent the book, my mom had met Mrs. P for coffee. She thought that Mrs. P had already read the novel when they hung out because she remembered they briefly talked about it. Mrs. P knew what my book was about. She knew, at the very least, that I was queer. My mom said Mrs. P was not surprised at my success as a writer. I had been one of her favorite students she'd ever had. Your class was so diverse, my mom said to me on the phone, exasperated and confused. And there were all kinds of teachers she worked with. Today, Nova Blanche Foreman, located in Davie, Florida, is comprised of 89.2% minorities and 72% economically disadvantaged students, according to usnews.com. These numbers roughly check out for 1994 and 1995, too, based on my old class photos and the friends I made during those years. Was it always there? My mom wondered aloud. Was she always this way? It's a big question she and I both have about Mrs. P since my years in her class. What happened? Back then, Mrs. P did her job spectacularly. She inspired one of her students to become a professional writer, and he did. That's not a bad resume. That student also ended up queer and trans and under attack by the very candidates she not only donates to, but publicly praises with bountiful devotion. It's hard for me to reconcile. And look, I get it. I can't expect to matter to a woman who hasn't taught me in 3 decades. For me, she's frozen in time with her sandy blonde bob and kind eyes, just as I am probably frozen in time for her, a little girl in a denim jacket, white cowboy boots, and a messy ponytail adorned with a red bow. Teachers have become a real sticking point in the culture war under Trump. Florida especially loves book bans and forced outing. Under the guise of curriculum transparency, Governor DeSantis has cleared out school library shelves with vague wording about non-curriculum books. These bans have included novels Genderqueer, a memoir about the awkwardness of adolescence that wouldn't be misplaced among Judy Blume's works, and Dear Martin, a story about racial injustice and the teachings of Dr. Martin Luther King. A teacher in Charlotte who assigned it for Black History Month was fired. A substitute at Florida's Mandarin Middle School was also fired after a video he made of his library's empty shelves garnered 13 million views and countless copycat videos from other school libraries. In an effort to protect kids, we haven't left them anything to read. Schools in Florida can now also lose state funding for respecting students' preferred names and pronouns. A Florida teacher's contract wasn't renewed for 2025 and 2026 after a parent complained that she was violating state law by referring to a child by a name other than their legal name. The Advocate reported that that teacher is believed to be the first fired for refusing to comply with the state's forced outing policy. This law is going to one day absolutely get a child killed. It's also just plain stupid. Everyone at school had nicknames. CJ instead of Kara, Maddie for Madison. Hell, we called one kid Robot because his arm hair was so blonde that it looked white, and his name was Josh. I had a classmate in the 5th grade named Jillian who told everyone she wanted to be called Zeke. Nobody wrote into Fox News about it. She went back to Jillian after a few months, and Zeke became a distant memory for all students and staff. That same year, I started signing my English essays Dead Name J. Fox because of my crush on Michael J. Fox from Back to the Future. Dead name. My dead name. My teacher, Mrs. Cartmel, was like, sure, whatever. She graded my essays without mentioning it once. Who knew she was such a radical? At the lower school levels, Trump has sought to abolish diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives with an executive order titled Ending Radical Indoctrination in K-12 Schooling. A teacher in Idaho named Sarah Inama told NPR that her principal and vice principal asked her to take down a poster with hands of varying skin tones under a banner reading, "Everyone is welcome here," that had been up in her classroom for years. They told her teachers were not allowed to be political. A teacher in Oregon who wished to remain anonymous added, "There are so many times where I just have to tell them I can't answer that question, or I just change the subject, or I think about how I'm going to say it in a way that gives them the information they need, but also in a way that's going to cover my butt." I imagine my little classroom at Nova with all the smushed together round tables. I remember Mrs. P teaching us how to gauge time by asking us to close our eyes and raise our hands when we thought a minute had gone by, then 2 minutes, then 3. She taught us about voting by having us write down our favorite ice cream flavor. I voted for strawberry just to seem different. Afterwards, we tallied the votes and picked a winning flavor. That flavor was the one we all got samples of. She taught us about second chances with a discipline system called ticket turning. Every student had a red, yellow, and green set of tickets. They were given out as warnings. It was an opportunity to turn our behavior around, to grow, and to change. While researching this piece, I found a PDF online of the 1995 Nova Blanche Foreman mission booklet, which reads in part, "We will provide the process and support which will give our diverse, multicultural population equal access to a quality education." It is a fascinating historical document, if only because it shows how far we've regressed in the last 30 years. Quote, "Multicultural infusion curriculum promotes understanding and sensitivity for different ethnicities and minorities," the document reads. In the early 90s, it was not controversial to commit your school to diversity, equity, and inclusion. Unfortunately, in 2025, Florida's Republican governor has decided to follow Trump's lead with his own Stop Woke Act. It is part of a larger conservative plan to destroy public education, prioritizing private school vouchers that leave low-income students, like those Mrs. P taught, in an educational wasteland. Very recently, I used Indeed to get hired for a part-time job. The employer put their job listing up on Indeed. That's where I found it. I applied through Indeed, and I got the job. Indeed made the hiring process so easy. I was able to search for all kinds of jobs based on my skills and being able to look at really easy to read descriptions from the jobs about what they were looking for in a candidate. If I needed to hire someone again, I would absolutely use Indeed. And I also have been telling everyone when they've been saying that they want to look for a job or they don't know where to find a job, I was like, you got to use Indeed. I've literally told like 4 people like, oh, I found this job on Indeed. That's where you should look if you're looking to find a job. And the job I was looking for, they needed someone really quickly because they were growing so fast. fast. So they needed to hire the right person very fast, and it was so important. When it comes to hiring, Indeed is all you need. Stop struggling to get your job posts seen on other job sites. Indeed sponsored jobs help you stand out and hire fast. With sponsored jobs, your post jumps to the top of the page for your relevant candidates, so you can reach the people you want faster. And it makes a huge difference. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs posted directly on Indeed have 45% more applications than non-sponsored jobs. I sincerely love Indeed. I went on there. It was incredibly easy. I literally got hired in September for a job actually using Indeed. I know this is a podcast ad, but I mean it. I really did use Indeed. I really do recommend Indeed. It all happened so fast, and I didn't even have to really stress. I found what I wanted. I got the job. Plus, with Indeed sponsored jobs, there are no monthly subscriptions, no long-term contracts, and you only pay for results. How fast is Indeed? In the minute I've been talking to you, 23 hires were made on Indeed, according to Indeed data worldwide. And if you're looking to hire, you need to use Indeed because you'll find people like me. There's no need to wait any longer. Speed up your hiring right now with Indeed. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/badwithmoney. Just go to Indeed.com/badwithmoney right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Indeed.com/badwithmoney. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring, Indeed is all you need. Here on this show, I have learned a lot of money lessons the hard way. Mostly, I've learned that I need to actually pay attention and look at what I'm doing, which is kind of the hardest part. I learned a lot of this later in life, as you know, and so all of it is pretty intimidating to me. And when I started this show in 2016, it really came down to financial literacy. And April is Financial Literacy Month. So today's episode is sponsored by Acorns. Since there is a whole month reminding you to finally take control of your money, the good news is you don't need all 30 days. Acorns makes it easy to start saving and investing for your future in just 5 minutes. You don't need to be an expert. Acorns will recommend a diversified portfolio that matches you and your money goals. You don't need to be rich. Acorns lets you get started with the spare money you've got right now, even if all you've got is spare change. Truly getting started investing in the easiest ways that you can, like getting on the right track and not having to think through what exactly you're investing in. Like, these funds are pretty straightforward. So if you can get involved in doing that with Acorns, you should. And I know it's a scary time for investing, but you know, one of my guests did just say, sometimes it's good to look at it as a sale. So think about it that way if you want to invest. I'm starting to think of it as maybe the investments are on sale right now, and this is when we get in. Sign up now and join the over 14 million all-time customers who have already saved and invested over $25 billion with Acorns. Head to acorns.com/badmoney or download the Acorns app to get started. Paid non-client endorsement. Compensation provides incentive to positively promote Acorns. Tier 1 compensation provided. Investing involves risk. Acorns Advisors LLC, an SEC registered investment advisor. View important disclosures at acorns.com/badmoney.
What's standing between you and your first sale on Shopify? Time, expertise, resources? What if you could multiply all three? Product descriptions? Done. Store insights? Delivered. 2 a.m. customer questions? Handled instantly. Entrepreneurs on Shopify are reaching their first sale faster with AI that works with you. Go to shopify.com/first sale to see how entrepreneurs use AI to grow their businesses faster. That's shopify.com/first sale.
As this Equity Florida summary explains, the Stop Woke Act's wording is so vague that teachers will be subjected to legal liability for encouraging, quote, critical thinking on challenging topics. In other words, Mrs. P's explanation of fair voting using ice cream flavors could have compromised funding for the entire school. Friends who have worked in other schools in the South for over 15 years told me the pronoun panic obscures the pressing issues of their students' everyday life. Kids, parents, and teachers barely discuss sexuality, they told me, so gender is not even on their radar. There are so many other bigger problems being ignored by this hyper-focus on queer and Black books and name changes without, quote, parental consent. My friends' students are not getting consistent educations, and not for lack of willingness to learn. They're growing up around violence. They don't have access to healthy food. There's no funding for after-school enrichment. Mrs. P spent decades in the public school system. She should know these end wokeness acts are obvious distractions. For Pete's sake, the Marjorie Stoneman Douglas high school shooting took place 25 minutes away from Nova. This past week, Florida State University, where my sister attended, suffered a shooting that killed 2 people, one of whom was a Leon County high school football coach. Students in Florida don't need protection from trans athletes. They need free lunch and stronger gun laws. Last night, I tried to find Mrs. P's Facebook on my own and couldn't. My weak hope was that since 2022, when she last donated to the man who came up with Don't Say Gay, she'd realized the error of her ways. I guess I won't ever know. In 1995, at a little elementary school in South Florida, I wasn't being indoctrinated into becoming a transsexual communist. That came later. Just kidding. I was just a child whose father was doing drugs and crashing cars and whose mother was trying to get us by the best way she could. Mrs. P protected me. She gave me purpose. She showed me that I wasn't trapped by my economic status or my home life. Her concerns weren't whether I loved our country enough or whether drag queens were grooming me at story hours or whether I knew it was perfectly fine to be Caucasian. Mrs. P saw a gifted 7-year-old in an alcoholic home and she wanted more for me. She wanted equity. Thank you guys so much for listening. I hope you enjoyed it. I can't wait to write more stuff. I'll be working on an essay for next week about biohacking and the idea of wanting to live forever when some people don't have health care and the idea of wanting to live longer or forever when quality of life is so poor. It's also about my own medical issues. I hope that this gave you a kind of sense of what I'll be writing about, larger issues, and also sort of the real people they touch and how they affect my life. And if you have ideas, let me know. I have a whole notes app doc going with ideas of what I want to write about. I have a lot to say. So thank you guys so much, and I'll see you soon. Love you. Bye. Bad with Money with Gabriel S. Dunn is a production of Noted Bisexual, produced by Melisa D. Monts and Diamond MPrint Productions. Edited by Diane Kang, post-production sound by Coco Llorens, production assistance by Melanie D. Watson, and music by Mike Kaplan, Zach Sherwin, and Jack Dolgen, sung by Sam Barbera. Thank you. Love you. Bye.
Live on DAZN Worldwide, May 2nd and 3rd, Garcia versus Romero and Canelo versus Skull. Friday from 6 p.m. Eastern, Garcia returns in a history-making Times Square takeover. 24 hours later, Saturday from 7 p.m. Eastern, King Canelo faces undefeated Skull for the undisputed crown. May 2nd and 3rd, a knockout weekend of boxing. Pick one or go all in for only $90, exclusively on DAZN. Buy now at DAZN.com/boxing.
Shopify is a global commerce platform that helps you sell at every stage of your business and sell more with less effort thanks to the Shopify Magic, your AI-powered all-star. Sign up for a $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/redcircle, all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/redcircle now to grow your business no matter what stage you're in. Shopify.com/redcircle.